I told you your booth has about 3 seconds to matter, or that attendee is gone forever? In that tiny window, their brain decides stop here or keep walking. There's no in between. This video is about how to rig those 3 seconds in your favor using both triggers and pattern interrupts so people actually stop and walk in instead of giving you that polite side eye as they blow past. And if today is the first time we're meeting, hey there, I'm Heather Bundgaard, one of the trainers at Booth Boss Bootcamp. We teach marketing teams how to turn trade shows from expensive field trips into predictable pipeline. And with over 30 years of trade show experience, I've seen it all. And it hasn't always been pretty. So let's break this down into a system you can install before your next show. Let's first talk about what's really happening in the show aisle. Picture your ideal buyer walking the show floor. They're probably tired, overstimulated, half looking at their phone, and half scanning the booths in a walking trance. The brain is doing 3 things on autopilot. Number 1, they're scanning for change like movement or lights or contrast or sound, something quickly changing one of their 5 senses. Number 2, they're deciding if this is for me or not for me in a split second. Number 3, they're protecting their time by avoiding awkward sales ambushes. Now, if you look like every other booth, you get filtered out as the background. So the goal is simple. Interrupt the pattern, create curiosity, make it safe to step in. That's what a booth trigger, or more commonly, a pattern interrupt is. A deliberate element that snaps people out of autopilot and pulls them towards you. I want you to think in 3 layers, not random gimmicks. You're going to want 1, a nonverbal hook, which is seen at 20 to 30 feet, which are visuals and motion. Number 2, a verbal hook, read or heard at 8 to 10 feet, which are things like headlines and a promise. Number 3, a human hook, which is heard at 3 to 5 feet, which is what your staff says. Now stack all 3 of those and your odds of a hard stop go way up. Hooks can be verbal, words, or nonverbal, visuals and sound. Now good advertisers use both together. So let's build those layers. Layer number 1 is nonverbal triggers. This is the attention-getting phase. This is what hits their peripheral vision first. You want them to preconsciously think, something different is happening there. I better take a look. And there are 4 types of non-invasive pattern interrupts that you can use to allow your guests to make their own split-second decision to inquire further. They are movement, sight, sound, and smell. Number 1, movement. Because humans are wired to notice motion before detail, movement is number 1 in this list. You can use a large vertical screen with looping but active content. You know, something interesting and eye-catching. Not a video about your history of the company. For the love of God, nobody cares. This is not the place for your history video. Or how about a physical game? Physical games or even unique crafts are amazing at providing movement. And if you take it one step further and incorporate a leaderboard for your game for the top 10 winners, you will also engage a human competitive nature for an even bigger crowd. A show whose demographic is mostly men would greatly benefit from a leaderboard. For obvious competitive reasons, right? So another example could be a micro demo at the edge of your booth showing some kind of movement. And at the very least, you're going to want some small kinetic movement. And it could be anything like a rotating object. For an example, and this is not an example of the small rotating object, but for movement. A client of mine is a machinery company, and they have a small robot where at their show, they have it delivering drinks from the bar to the recipient. And you can imagine how much attention this gets. To me, it kind of reminds me of Rosie from the Jetsons. All right, so number 2 is sight. Yes, sight overlaps with movement, but in this bucket, we're going to focus on the things that don't move. Static items like your booth graphics. And when it comes to graphics, you've got about a split second to either attract someone or repel them. Small, busy graphics tend to repel, as you can probably imagine. You know the ones that I'm talking about? The graphics that try to squeeze in every single product from that company out of their catalog. And then they decide to fill up every single piece of white space with more words. It's gross. But on the flip side, big, simple graphics tend to attract. In another session, we talked about something called cognitive load. And that's just a fancy term for how hard the brain has to work to process the information you're throwing at them. When you use one large graphic or image or or some kind of shape with about 4 or 5 words, the brain can understand it quickly, which reduces confusion, lowers stress, and makes the message easier to absorb. When the brain feels relaxed and clear, people are far more open to learning more, trusting you, and even buying from you. So honestly, this feels like a good moment for me to mention or even give a little round of applause to our little graphics, not little, but our amazing graphic designers out there who do this well. They don't always get the recognition they deserve, but great design can absolutely influence whether someone walks towards your booth or keeps walking down the aisle. Ideally, you want one large, crystal clear image with strong contrasting colors. All right, moving on to number 3, sound. So sound can pull attention faster than you might think. It could be a prize wheel spinning. It could be the start of a product launch. It could be the hum of a machine that you brought to the booth, a magician drawing a large crowd, or even a dog barking. And yes, companies have really done dog adoptions right inside their booth as an attraction. And yes, it does work. Moving on to number 4, smell. Let's talk about smell. There are 4, I'd say, primary smells that you can find on a show floor. 1 is fresh baked bread. Number 2, fresh baked cookies. Number 3, popcorn. And number 4 is coffee. Smell works incredibly well as a nonverbal trigger because it instantly taps into a memory. A good smell can bring up a happy memory or make your taste buds wake up immediately. The main point with nonverbal triggers is simple. Their job is to make someone swivel their head and look towards your booth. Once that happens, you've created the opportunity for our next step of the engagement. So moving on to layer number 2. Now this one is verbal triggers. This is the moment when someone decides if they feel safe enough to step into your booth. Once they look, you've got maybe another 3 seconds, and in that time, they should fully understand. Who is this for? What do you do? And why it's worth stepping in. This is also the stage where most teams completely blow it. They might have an engaging game, beautiful graphics, and maybe they've already spent 6 figures on the booth. Then they put their most awkward humans at the front line. The aisle line is where your A team should be standing, not your who's free this weekend team. Your booth staff at the aisle are the final layer of the pattern interrupt. And I strongly encourage one rule. No one should stand there silently waiting. Waiting is invisible, and honestly, it could feel a little stalkerish to people walking by. Instead, before the show even starts, give your team a handful of simple 1-sentence openers that are short, feel low pressure, and ask for seconds, not a whole meeting. In our bootcamp, we actually have a full session focused on this topic, and we also provide a handout with more than 100 conversation starters. So teams can develop strong one-liners that fit their company and their audience. Now, I won't overwhelm you with all that jazz and too many examples due to time, but here are just a few simple ones that you can kind of start with and kind of make them around this. Hey, quick question. Are you happy with the results you're getting from insert pain point, right now. Or got 10 seconds? Let me show you how to reduce or increase X so you can Y. What if I told you you can double your X just by doing this one thing? Would you be interested? Not bad, huh? Okay, layer number 3, human triggers. This is the moment when attendees decide what's in it for me. At this point, people should be able to quickly answer 2 questions in their head. Is this for someone like me, and do I want what they're offering? When that happens and they feel seen, that's when the internal shift occurs. They switch to, okay, now I want to know more. So let's quickly recap. If you want attendees to stop and walk into your booth, there are 3 things that need to happen. First, use nonverbal triggers, things like movement, sight, sound, or even smell, to break the visual pattern of the show floor. Number 2, use verbal triggers so the right people instantly think, okay, this is for me. And third, use human triggers that make stepping into your booth feel safe, easy, and worthwhile. When you do these 3 things well, you don't have to shout across the aisle or bribe people with cheap stuff or beg them to stop by. Your booth simply becomes the one their brain can't ignore. And if you'd like a copy of that conversation starter PDF I mentioned earlier, the one that has 100 conversation starters in it, go ahead and click the button below that says free resources. And if you want your team trained before your next big show, check out the link in the description to learn how we can turn your Who's Free This Weekend team to your A team. And in the meantime, stop hoping people will wander into your booth and start designing the triggers that make them. Bye for now.